Predators, parasites, producers. These three basic human survival strategies make up the foundation of all morality. Understand these and you will be better prepared to defend yourself against parasitism and predation while contributing to a culture of productive exchange. And we need to defend ourselves, more now than ever, as predation and parasitism threatens the continued existence of our cooperative, high-trust civilization. In these videos, I'm sharing my understanding of propertarianism. For more info, check out propertarianism.com, and if you learned something from this video, click like, subscribe, and share with your friends. As human beings, we must act to acquire resources, or else we will die. This is a fact of life. Thus, there are three basic strategies for the acquisition of resources. Predation is the strategy of the strong, who directly act to consume the life and property of their prey. We're talking about things like murder, armed robbery, or elite child trafficking rings. Better not say too much about that, or I might end up committing suicide tomorrow. Parasitism relies more on deception to exploit the productivity of the host, while giving nothing in return. Here we might think of welfare queens, or politicians who use taxpayer money for their own personal gain. And finally, there are producers. A man can produce for his own survival, either in isolation or for greater success in cooperation with others. We can look at this like a series. On one end, you have predation, and on the other, you have reciprocal cooperation. In between, we can place parasitism, free riding, and boycott. Boycott basically means I do my thing, you do yours, and we don't have any interaction at all. Separation, or isolation. Predation, parasitism, and free riding are all ways of extracting resources without giving equivalent value in return. And they all invite retaliation. So we call them irreciprocal. Reciprocity, then, is the underlying characteristic which separates moral from immoral. Irreciprocal, immoral. Separation or boycott, amoral or neutral. Reciprocity, moral. Now, we've defined the three strategies and their moral foundation, but let's not just get all kumbaya and start imagining that everyone's gonna just naturally cooperate because we're all good at heart and we all just really want to cooperate anyways. Let's be real. People reveal themselves through their actions, and predation and parasitism are observable human actions. Instead, let's start by noticing that humans respond to incentives. Let's start with the question, what incentive do I have not to kill you and take your stuff? Man is rational. He engages in predation when it suits him, parasitism when it is possible, cooperation when it is preferable, and flight when it is necessary. For a lion in the Sahara, just as for the strong among humans, predation is the preferable state of affairs. So what is the incentive to cooperate? The answer is that reciprocity provides the incentive to cooperate so long as predation and parasitism are suppressed. Reciprocal cooperative exchange provides disproportionately better outcomes than every man fending for himself. Reciprocity is productive. We use each other's strengths for greater returns. Reciprocity is voluntary. Nobody volunteers to be preyed upon. Reciprocity is fully informed. Parasites rely on fraud and deception. Reciprocity is warranted. We give our promise of the integrity of the exchange. And reciprocity is free of imposition of costs upon others, whether those are direct costs or externalities. Predation and parasitism always impose costs. So we expect man to respond to incentives, the carrot and the stick. Therefore, to build and sustain a productive, cooperative civilization, and to reap the rewards of such a culture of productive exchange, we must provide men with the incentive to cooperate and the disincentive to choose predation and parasitism. We must raise the cost on predation and parasitism, punish the predators and parasites. So let's correctly identify the problem. This isn't a battle of rich versus poor, or our tribe versus their tribe, or men versus women. This is a battle of parasitism and predation versus reciprocity, of morality versus immorality. And the more effectively we can suppress predation and parasitism, the more we force people into a strategy of productive cooperation. Groups compete, and they compete by the means available to them. Either a group can defend itself against destructive, parasitic, and predatory competitors, or it can't. Furthermore, there will be groups that exploit every possible niche, whether it's predatory and parasitic or cooperative and productive. We can't blame people for following incentives that lead to immorality, but instead we seek to defend ourselves against their immoral acts. In suppressing predation and parasitism, we eliminate those who are less able to act cooperatively and productively. This is the cost we pay for a productive culture. The result is that those with the proclivity for cooperation and production are rewarded. This is good. Several conditions make cooperation successful as a survival strategy. First, we can cooperate because of our social nature, the ability to communicate and negotiate, and our ability to predict and then choose which actions will lead to future outcomes. The success of this strategy then comes from the disproportionately high returns of specialization and exchange. People specialize according to their different abilities, knowledge, talents, skills, gender, age, intelligence, and other characteristics. And when they trade according to their specialization in response to market demand, everyone is better off. Overall wealth and prosperity grows. Basic economics. Cooperation is a disproportionately more productive means of acquiring resources than individual production. Cooperation is then further strengthened by institutions, rights, and systems of suppressing parasitism, predation, and free riding, and systems for calculating exchange. Technologies like money and prices make it easier to transmit knowledge across a vast web of individual trades. The result is a rich and prosperous civilization in which we can walk down the street without having to battle everyone we meet for control of resources. A high-trust society. Predation damages and destroys. Parasitism extracts discounts and also destroys. Cooperation leads to disproportionate returns. Therefore, man must act to preserve and extend cooperation. And he does so by suppressing predation and parasitism, forcing people into a market for productive exchange. Recognize these strategies and call them out when you see them. It's our choice. We can fight it out, every man for himself, as everything our ancestors built burns to the ground, or we can ruthlessly suppress parasitism and predation, creating the foundation for cooperative, productive, high-trust nations to bloom. As always, check out propertarianism.com for a deeper dive. Stay tuned for my next video, applying these concepts in the context of natural law, the one law of cooperation.